All right, so for the past few greens, we've watched something related to the Galapagos. We watched, I think, 2 or 3 so far, but each time I've said the same thing, is that I'm really interested in the cactus trees and the Scalesia trees or the daisy trees. And now that we've gone over the more introductory, like how the actual biogeography of the Galapagos works, I want to watch more programs that are about more specific things. And today we have Galapagos Cactus and Scalesia by Harper and Row Publishers, published in 1972. And I think this is going to be exactly what I'm hungering for. I'm very excited. Again, I should mention the whole reason I'm watching these Galapagos programs all in a row like this is because I'm going to the Galapagos. So this is like studying for me. So let's get into it. Let's learn as much as we can about the Galapagos, Cactus, and Scalesia. Oh, wow, Galapagos, Laboratory for Evolution. So I think this is in conjunction with the first Galapagos video I watched, but I think this is an in-depth look specifically at the plants. Produced by the Media Center, University of California. I think this is the same people who made the first Galapagos program I watched. If this just is the same one, I will be a little disappointed though. 1972, Regents of the University of California. Is that like who made this? Was this for colleges for the University of California? Is that where this was shown? I would love to have been shown this stuff in college. That's half of the point of making this whole channel, is to show you that like all this old stuff has like all the best knowledge in it still. What we're about to watch is like the same dollar value as like a whole college lecture on the same subject. Filmed by Douglas Ryan. Shout out Douglas Ryan.
"500 miles off the coast of Ecuador lie a unique group of volcanic..."
Wow, I feel like this is probably the first female narrator I have like ever had on this channel. It's interesting. I feel like that's worth commenting on.
Islands, the Galapagos.
That's an interesting formation. I feel like I've never really seen that formation before, but I feel like I should have if that's real. That's like a very iconic like landmark. It looks like an obelisk. I feel like this is the thing that you can make like a hoax, like the ancient Egyptian civilization article about. Dude, somehow the music always hits this like eerie, ephemeral tone that is so like perfect because it feels like out of time. It feels like I'm like peering through like the sound memories of like my ancestors while I'm watching this because of like the music that they play too. I can't tell if it's like the audio tape is like stretched so the music doesn't sound perfect anymore, or if it actually sounded like this in its original form, but it is always such an experience to get to listen to the music as well as the visuals.
The plants and animals which successfully colonized the barren shores of this archipelago have been relatively few.
All right, so far this feels like it's kind of the same footage that we saw last time. It has a different angle, but it's weird that we're still focusing on like the animal wildlife when what we're really talking about in this one specifically is the vegetation. But hopefully we get there pretty quick. We're only like a minute in, so maybe I should just be patient.
However, the variety of patterns and novelties of
Dude, it's those cacti again. If you've been watching along with all of these, you'll know those cacti by now.
adaptation shown by these organisms
Oh, and the crabs.
have made the Galapagos a model laboratory for the study of evolution.
Dude, give me some points or something. The Laboratory for Evolution. They say it every single one of the programs we've watched so far. They've said that exact same phrase. And I've said that same exact phrase in my own videos too. So it tickles me every time I hear it now. Dude, I want to get one of these cactus. I know that's like a bad instinct, but like they're really funny. Dude, look at them. They're even funnier up close. They are literally like flesh tone.
Among the most conspicuous plants in the Galapagos are large cacti of the genus Opuntia and members of the sunflower.
Dude, I feel like I'm watching like the David Lynch Dune with this narration for some reason. This feels like an alien planet because of the narration.
A family belonging to the genus
I don't remember this being the narration for the first program in this series that we watched. I feel like I would have remembered if it was this similar voice, but I feel like it wasn't. I feel like it was a very normal voice. This voice is for some reason making this all feel so like this all feels like a dream.
Scalesia. The Opuntia, or prickly pear, sometimes grows as a shrub and sometimes as a tree.
Yeah, so this is a whole thing that I've been writing about in my video on the Galapagos that I'm going to be working on when I go to the Galapagos. But yeah, the prickly pear has grown into two varieties, ones that stand tall in tree form and ones that cover the ground more like a basic shrub cactus. But these ones that grow into trees are like very special. They only grow on this island, and they only grow on the islands where the tortoises feed on the cacti. So it's, a very clear example of there's this negative environmental stimulus in the form of the tortoise and this evolutionary pathway that gets unlocked to avoid being predated on by the tortoise. And I know that's exactly what they're going to talk about, but I want you all to know that I already know most of this because I've done my research. This is like one of the very few times I'm going to know what I'm talking about on this channel. So I might as well show what I've got going for me. But yeah, this is very interesting. That's why I want to see this. I'm excited to learn more though. Hopefully, I've always learned more from these than like any other YouTube video ever. So I really hope that this has more information to teach me that like I can keep in mind when I make my own about it later. Dang, look at those cactus trees though. Like imagine a full forest like this. That is like more unbelievable to me than like much of the animal wildlife, to be honest, is these cactus trees. It just, because the vegetation oftentimes determines the character of the environment or the characteristics of the environment. So to have these cactus trees is just, it's so bizarre. It's like, it's a desert forest. I have so much to say about it, and it's all written down in the script of the video I'm gonna make, and I shouldn't badger you all with it because you just want to watch this program, and so do I. So let's just keep watching. I feel like for anyone who doesn't know though, I do have a degree in environmental science, so this is like my favorite stuff ever. Dude, I love the tourist fit though. Like the tourist fit hasn't changed since this was made. Like the white bucket hat, the freaking like linen shirt, and the green olive pants.
The tree forms, which are dominant members of the dry coastal regions on many of the islands, are produced only from seeds.
Again, just like 10 full seconds of nothing but eerie synth music and this guy's fingers fondling these seeds. It's just like another type of editing style.
The seedlings grow into a linear series of vertically arranged pads, the lowest of which are covered with an armor of heavy, sharp spines that protect the succulent.
Oh, but these are great shots right here because this is like kind of a more intact like cactus forest. Like you can see there are cactus trees, and then there are other sorts of trees and vegetation too. It's so fascinating, and this is something that I'm so excited about when I go there, is to see the different, transition zones between the cactus desert forests and like the upland, leafy forests. Every single different spot has a different assemblage of, flora, but even just like climate conditions that result in such interesting communities. And this, even in these shots, you can tell this is an interesting place for life.
Tissues of the young plant. Each of the pads is about a foot in length, and the 5th, 6th, and higher pads are too high for the largest of the endemic herbivorous animals to browse on.
Yeah, evolution to avoid being eaten by the tortoises. I don't think it mentioned the tortoises are the ones that are the main predators, but I'm calling it now. Again, yeah, another like 10-second shot of eerie synth music and this guy being pricked by this cactus. I mean, I appreciate the shots. It's funny that they went out of their way to include shots of a guy just putting his hand next to these objects. I wonder what like the choice was. I guess to give them scale and to make them feel real. I don't know.
The stiffness and density of the spines decrease with the height of the plant. By the time the cactus is 5 or 6 feet tall, it begins to branch, and the lower pads thicken up.
Oh wow, look at these, like these adolescent cactus trees. See, this is amazing. This is what I wanted to learn. I've seen the cactus trees in their like final form, but I didn't ever think about what they looked like as like saplings or as like adolescent trees, or however you would say. Like they do look like young cactus trees. Like there's no other way to put it. Like it's it's just a cactus stacked on top of another cactus. Is that how they grow? They just like, they never, like the base one is always the base one, and then there just is another one growing on top. Is that, I wonder, because that's how it looks like they grow, at least in this stage. They just look so funny. They look like almost like people. Like I bet you could send this still to some people and tell them it's aliens and they would believe you. Like you could literally make a whole hoax just off of this one shot.
To form a heavy columnar trunk from which the thorny covering is slowly lost.
Dude, see, this is amazing. This makes me honestly a little sad that I'm going to be talking about them too, because they are doing such a better job of showing you all the different like life stages of the tree and everything. Like I'm not going to be able to show you that in mine. I'm just going to get footage, and that's the best I can do, I think. But this program has gone up and above, and that's what really makes these so valuable. Even if somebody made a YouTube video about the Galapagos Cactus and Scalesia, which I literally am doing that myself, it wouldn't be as this well produced. Like I wouldn't be able to have gotten all these different shots of all these different, trees up close and everything. This really is higher value content, or higher production value than most YouTube content that is produced of similar like genre today on YouTube, which isn't surprising. Obviously this had a production budget and most of YouTube doesn't, but I just feel like most people nowadays would opt to watch a quick, cheap YouTube video on the Galapagos rather than just like a regularly like a high value but old product or old program like this. Even though like the production value is like way higher and it's actually very entertaining. I'm just trying to like celebrate the value of these old programs, and also learn knowledge and like filmmaking skill from them. Wow, look at these amazing trees though, like holy moly, these branches look so unworldly too. Like they grow in such a weird way. Like these trees are really like not alien trees, but they are specific to only these islands, and they do make this place look so different.
The shrub-like Opuntias do not grow from seeds. They develop by vegetative regeneration from the pads that break off from already established plants and fall to the ground. These pads come from the upper parts of the tree cactus and have relatively soft and sparse spines. The plants which grow from them have the same poorly developed spiny covering. Consequently, they are readily eaten by the giant tortoises and land iguanas which are native to many of the islands in the Galapagos, and which...
Oh, so they just are eaten by the tortoises too. So I thought that the cactuses that grew on the ground were specific to the islands that didn't have tortoises. I guess it makes sense for tortoises to eat some of the cactuses. I figured that was like the very clear evolutionary difference between them.
Depend on the succulent Opuntia pad.
Look at this huge cactus tree. Like that's what people don't understand, is like it's just a cactus and a tree. I don't know if like I'm the only one whose mind is blown by that, but that was a great shot of it.
Pads, not only for food, but for water as well, particularly during the long dry season. It is not surprising that the soft-spined shrubby Opuntia can survive only on islands that do not support giant tortoises and iguanas.
So they are agreeing with me now. Yeah, they can only survive on islands that do not support giant tortoises.
Iguanas, and on which domestic goats, cattle...
You know what's crazy is this tortoise might still be alive. I say that about all of the programs, right? Like how old are these people? How old, like, are they still alive? But like these tortoises could still be alive. They could still be young.
and donkeys have not been introduced by man.
I feel like this doesn't convey just how big these tortoises are either. I feel like that head is like the size of like my head. Dang, I feel like I've seen that specific grove of cactus trees in other documentaries already. Like this, I don't know, it's like three standing together on this cliffside. I just feel like I've seen this shot multiple times from multiple different angles now.
A fascinating aspect of plant and animal life in the Galapagos is the clear-cut nature of the inter-island diversity.
Dude, I love that in-camera pan and zoom in on the next island over too. Like that is a complex shot and, you know, just a pretty interesting one. It very clearly illustrates where you're going with the narrative in the video, but it's just, that's such a good shot, I guess. Hands off to the photographer or the cameraman or whoever it was who got that shot. But I wondered, you know, did they plan that shot or did they just get it on location and use it later? That's what I want to know. I got to remember to get one of those shots though, all right? That, you know, when I go to the Galapagos, I have to get a pan and then a zoom in on the next island over. Don't let me forget.
The differences between the populations of Opuntia on the various islands are primarily manifested by various combinations of the size and color of the flowers, the size and location of the fruit, and the height and massiveness of the growth form. The extremes of the tree form are represented on the one hand by Opuntia aequios, the pads of which are borne on short limbs close to the tall and relatively slender trunk,
Yeah, it's wild to see these cactus trees in competition with other trees as well. Like you can clearly tell like they are growing taller than these other trees. They are like the dominant, but it's so strange at the same time because you can see that there's a lot of vegetation, a lot of green vegetation too. They must have visited during like the wet season or something because this is like really green, especially for a cactus forest. Or at least, you know, that's my perception of it.
and on the other hand by Opuntia.
Oh wow, look how tall that is. See, that's the other thing is I don't quite know how tall these trees can get. You know, I haven't gone to the Galapagos yet, so but this looks like the height of like a real tall tree, like an actual tree. Like most of them look like kind of short, like cherry tree heights or something, but this is an actual like 50-foot tree or something. It's funny how little foliage they have still. But imagine like a huge forest with all these. Oh man, I wish.
Megasperma, which has a relatively short and massive trunk.
Wow, that's an interesting tree too. That's the other thing that I haven't dived too much into yet is the diversity of the cactus trees in the Galapagos. Like it's one thing to explain the existence and evolution of them, but it's another to just explore each different island and how each cactus tree grows differently on the specific islands.
And a globular arrangement of branches and pads.
Oh, see, you know, I'm not going to all the islands, so I won't be able to get all this footage. But, you know, obviously, whoever made this program had the production value to go to all these islands. So this really is like a valuable product still. Even though it's old and it might be a little boring and weird, like this is better than any YouTube video out there on the Galapagos, by far. Maybe not, I shouldn't say that. Any better than any of my YouTube videos, for sure.
The fruits may be either large or small, and they may grow either out of the face of the pad or projecting from the edge. The flowers vary markedly in size. In some populations, they
Yeah, another like 5 seconds of drone music with the guy just like touching a flower. That is a big flower though. That is like a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be before his hand was in frame, which might be the whole reason they do that.
change from yellow to red after pollination. In others, they remain yellow.
They change colors after pollination. I've never heard of a flower doing that before. Is that like normal? I've never heard of that going on the Galapagos or elsewhere. That's again another thing that I guess I'm learning so much already. Dude, and this shot with the seals in the background, that's, you know, another hats off to the cameraman here.
There are relatively few large flying insects in the Galapagos, and the carpenter bee pollinates both Scalesia and Opuntia.
That's another thing that I never researched was who pollinates all these trees. So they actually are pollinated by the same bee, which is amazing. I would have guessed that they were pollinated by something different. I guess they might also have other pollinators that are more selective, but the fact that the carpenter bee visits them both kind of is just like their pollen is hitting each other and getting into each other's receptors. I would have thought that they would have had different pollinators. That's so interesting, though. I guess they have to have whatever pollinators are present. That's another hurdle of island evolution that I guess I've never really thought about before.
The differences between the Scalesia on the various islands are no less obvious than the differences between the Opuntia.
Is this the same grove that I recognized earlier, or is this a different grove? Because this looks like the same grove that I said a second ago looks like the grove that I've seen before. No, it totally is, right? This is like the one that they've shown in all of them so far, I think. I don't know why. Are these like the 3 famous cactus trees of the Galapagos? I feel like I have a guide to the Galapagos that has a picture of one of these even.
These differences are apparent in the size, texture, and shape of the leaves, the size and shape of the flowers, the presence or absence of bracts and ray flowers, the length of the flower stalk, and also by the growth form of the plant.
Oh, that was hard to watch. They damaged the flower a little.
In Scalesia helleri, the leaves are deeply incised. The flower stalks are long.
Oh, all right, so we're talking about Scalesia now, which is not a cactus. This is like a leafy member of, I think, the aster family, which is like daisies and sunflowers and whatnot. So this is like kind of just a small flower that has become like probably the most dominant form of vegetation on the island. It's become all different forms. And this is interesting because I've done most of my research again on the Scalesia trees. It also taught me how to pronounce Scalesia. I thought it was Scalesia before this, but I guess it's Scalesia. Again, a valuable lesson to have learned before having made my own video. But it's fascinating to see the adaptive radiation Scalesia went through to occupy pretty much every vegetative niche on the island. Not every, there are other plants, but Scalesia has definitely evolved into quite a few niches.
And there are no bracts or ray flowers.
This might actually be similar to the ancestral version of the Scalesia that arrived on it. It is just like a small bushy flower, so this isn't actually all that special, I don't think. Like, yeah, they kind of just look like a regular flower. Like, if that puffed up, it would be like white and yellow, and you would just say, like, I don't know, it kind of looks like a daisy.
On another island, Scalesia villosa shows yet another combination of these characters.
Yeah, see, like, this is a unique evolution of that. Like, you can tell how they're related. Like, the flowering part is still a similar shape, but it's much bigger, much, like, floofier, and the leaves look like they're, organized completely differently. The leaf texture and the leaf shape is completely different. But it's crazy how it came from the same, ancestor.
Scalesia affinus has conspicuous ray flowers. Species of Scalesia are found from the hot, dry lowlands to the cool, damp forest belt of the higher altitudes.
Yeah, now we're getting into the Scalesia trees. That's what I'm interested in.
They grow in cracks in lava flows, clinging to cliffs, or in the rich, moist soils of the cloud-shrouded highlands.
This is an amazing shot, though. I love seeing the mist on the mountainside like this. Like, you get rainforest right up top, and it just transitions all the way down into desert. I'm excited to go. This is such an interesting environment. I'm getting so hyped just watching this.
The Scalesia in the highlands shows still another combination of leaf and flower characters. But they have undergone a remarkable change in growth form.
Okay, yeah, here we go. But they have undergone a remarkable change in growth form. So this is a Scalesia tree.
The shrub has become a tree.
There we go. She said it. This is probably like the least impressive tree you could have shown, but I guess it gets the idea across that it is a tree. I mean, it's just a normal tree that like people are gonna say like, what's so special about it? It's just a tree, but it's a tree that came from like a daisy or a sunflower. Like it's a completely different sort of tree than all the other trees. And same with the cactus tree. That's what makes them both so interesting, is that the island didn't have trees, and then plants that were not trees arrived on the island, and then those plants became trees. So it's so remarkable that they just have a normal looking tree that you would never assume is not anything but a tree, but it just came from something that wasn't a tree. And that's what makes it so amazing. But it is kind of anticlimactic when you get to it, and it just is a very normal looking tree. I guess that's a good thing to know for when I do it, that like even no matter how cool it is evolutionarily, all the footage I'm gonna get is just going to be of a tree.
In favorable situations, the tree
But I mean, these are some real trees, right? No one would argue with that. Like, they are trees.
form, Scalesia pedunculata, forms
Scalesia pedunculata, all right, forms forests.
Substantial forest.
Dang, so this is a pedunculata forest, a Scalesia pedunculata daisy forest. That's interesting. I gotta remember that name, pedunculata. But this is amazing. See, this is the environment that I want to go to the most. Out of any like sort of place, I want to be inside this rainforest that we're seeing right now. Like just explore it. Like this seems so interesting to me. Like the island rainforest environment where the trees are special trees, like all the animals are unique. I want to spend my lifetime out in this view that we're looking at right now, exploring. Dude, I hope it doesn't sound like this in the Galapagos. If there was a weird, like, hiss going on this whole time, I would be kind of creeped out by this place. It's just, again, it's such an interesting musical choice to have this droning soundscape almost that, like, a lot of these earlier documentary films had. It's funny because now I feel like a lot of YouTube videos in the same vein have, like, really bad, like, clunky music use as well. But this is, like, it's weird because the music is good, but it's also off-putting. I don't know.
At altitudes above the forest zone, no Scalesia are present, and the mountain tops are covered by meadows of ferns and grasses, and by shrublands. Opuntia and Scalesia, two plants, but a variety of patterns and novelties of adaptation.
Oh, that's the end of it. Wow, I thought there was going to be a little bit more. Yeah, I think that was great. I really enjoyed that. That did teach me new things about them both. Now I'm looking forward to seeing some adolescent cactus trees, and I guess Scalesia too. Now I know how to say Scalesia. That's important. And I know what to expect more so, when I go. Like, I'm going to be disappointed if I don't get to see cactus trees as big as the ones we saw here. I'm really hoping I see them of similar size. I have no doubt I will see Scalesia trees that are like similar because they're all over the islands, but these cactus trees only grow on specific areas on specific islands. So I really hope I get out to see those, but if not, I will. No, I totally will. Now that I say that, but it's good. It's just good to see what these islands are like and see what to expect before I get there. And I hope you all enjoyed this too. I think I know I've said it already, but I think this is a much better exploration of these islands than I or any other like sole YouTuber could ever accomplish. So having this stuff on YouTube is of value just in the fact that like no one else can really go to all the islands and collect all this good B-roll, all this good first-hand footage of all these things, with all the same camera, so it all looks like one product. This is just like the most complete form of this product that you could ever make. It's so concise that you can't beat it, How long is it? Like 12 minutes? It's like 13 minutes. It's the perfect like YouTube video length anyway. even with its weird editing choices, this is still like a very pleasant, easy, and short watch. There's no reason to watch anything about the Galapagos that isn't this. So yeah, I really enjoyed myself. I learned a lot, and I'm definitely going to take these into account when making my own video. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll cut to black.